ChatGPT. It's one of the fastest growing technologies in, well, ever. But there's always been this huge question just hanging in the air. Beyond all the hype, what are millions and millions of people actually doing with it? Well, today, we're finally going to answer that. Okay, let's get into it. So for the very first time, we can actually move past all the guesswork and the stories we've heard. We have real, hard data that pulls back the curtain on what almost a tenth of the world's adults are asking this AI. And trust me, some of the answers are genuinely surprising.
So where is all this coming from? Well, it's thanks to this really incredible first-of-its-kind paper from OpenAI's own researchers, working with a team from Harvard. They got this unbelievable access to internal user data, which gives us the clearest picture we've ever had of how this tool is actually being used in the wild.
First up, let's just try to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this thing. I mean, the numbers are kind of hard to even process.
That right there, that's how many weekly active users ChatGPT has right now. 700 million. Let that sink in for a second. As the paper points out, that's nearly 10% of the entire adult population on Earth.
And believe me, those users are busy. Every single day, they're firing off over 2.6 billion messages. To give you some perspective, that's up from just 451 million about a year ago. But what does a number that big even mean?
Well, let's put it next to the undisputed king of the internet, Google Search. Google handles about 14 billion queries a day. ChatGPT is already processing almost a fifth of that. For a tool that's only been around for a couple years, that is just an absolutely insane rate of growth.
But here's where it gets really interesting. There's a huge catch. The data shows that for people who've been using it for a while, their daily usage has pretty much hit a ceiling. It's flat. All of this explosive growth, it's being fueled almost entirely by a constant fire hose of new people signing up, not by old users using it more and more.
So, if all this growth is coming from new faces, who exactly are they? Let's actually break down who makes up this massive user base, because the demographics here tell a really fascinating story.
Okay, this is pretty wild. Look at the dominance of the youngest group here. Almost half, a full 46% of all users are between 18 and 25 years old. It's not just that young people are trying it out, they are the core user base by a massive margin. And get this, talk about a dramatic shift. When ChatGPT first launched, the user base was something like 80% male, but that trend has totally flipped on its head. Now, women actually make up a slight majority of users. It just goes to show you how mainstream this whole thing has become.
All right, so we know who's using it, but what are they using it for? Is this the big productivity revolution at the office that we keep hearing about? Or is it something else?
Well, the data is crystal clear on this one. Despite all the buzz about AI in the workplace, nearly 3/4 of all conversations on ChatGPT have absolutely nothing to do with work. And that non-work slice of the pie keeps getting bigger, which suggests that for a lot of these new users, it's a personal tool first and foremost.
All right, time to get into the nitty-gritty. What are people actually typing into that little chat box billions of times a day?
So what's at the top of the list? Coming in at number 1, taking up a whopping 28% of all chats, is writing assistance. Right behind that is information seeking. And then we've got a really interesting one specifically for work, helping with decision-making.
Now, when we say writing assistance, what does that actually mean? Because it's not just, write this email for me. It's actually a much wider range of things.
And this is where it gets super interesting. Look at this. More people are using ChatGPT to edit or get feedback on stuff they've already written than they are to create new messages from scratch. So it seems like we're using it less as a ghostwriter and more like a super smart proofreader or a coach to help us polish our own words.
Okay, this next one is a huge trend. In just 1 year, the share of conversations where people are just looking for information, basically using ChatGPT like a search engine, has shot up from 14% to nearly 1/4 of all use. And this is happening even though we all know these things can, and definitely do, just make stuff up sometimes.
And when you zoom in specifically on work-related chats, something really surprising pops out. The second most common thing people do isn't writing reports or summarizing meetings. Nope, it's using the AI to help them make decisions and figure out how to solve problems. That's a way deeper, more collaborative way of using it.
Okay, let's take a step back and pull all of this together. What is all this data really telling us about our relationship with AI?
Before we wrap up, it's worth just looking at everything else people are doing. You've got creating images, computer programming, brainstorming ideas, even math help, and look at that last one,
talking about relationships, and just reflecting. These are smaller slices, for sure, but they show just how incredibly versatile people are finding this tool to be.
And this really brings us to the core takeaway from the entire paper, and the researchers said it best themselves. We're not just using AI to automate a task, to do something for us. We're increasingly using it as a partner, as an advisor or a research assistant to help us think with.
So this data gives us this incredible window into how we use AI. But it also makes you ask a much bigger question about the why. We're turning to this technology for help writing our thoughts, for finding answers, for getting advice. What does that say about the human needs we're trying to meet and what we're ultimately looking for from the tools we build?